Welcome to the Writer's Journey podcast. I'm Michael Laran, a science fiction and fantasy author on a journey to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I pull back the curtain on my writing life and how I'm building a writing career while working a full-time job, raising a family, and attending law school classes in the evenings. You can find show notes for this week's episode, a free starter library of my fiction, and much more at michaellaran.com. Hello, and welcome to episode 67. So, as you can hear, I finally got a new intro recorded. Hope that sounds good. It only took me, 10,000 years to record it. Such is life. Got a lot of things going on, but happy to give the Writer's Journey some love. So, episode 67, I have a fun topic. Well, maybe fun for you all to listen to, and maybe fun to look back on, but not so fun living in the moment when it was happening. So I wanted to talk in this episode about how no matter who you are, you get knocked down and you get dealt a hand of crappy cards, and you got to figure out what to do with them. So my gift, oh, by the way, happy Father's Day to all the fathers who were listening. I'm a little bit late, but this past Sunday, at least in the United States, Father's Day was observed, and I hope that all of you got to spend some fantastic time with your children, and nothing but love to all the fathers out there. Now, the reason I start with Father's Day is, one, to give you all those blessings, but two, because this is where my troubles started. So my gift from my wife for Father's Day this year, she asked me what I wanted, and I said, I really don't have anything that I need, other than socks. Everybody always needs socks, right? So I told her, an afternoon by myself would be great, so I could actually shoot some more YouTube videos, get some content banked, get a couple podcast episodes in the pocket for when I'm going to have to miss or not be able to record for the first week or two in July when my daughter has a procedure. So she said, okay, absolutely. So there's a local store, I think, that was going out of business, or they were going bankrupt or something. And so my wife and my daughter, they get in the car and they say, hey, have a good afternoon. This is Saturday, by the way, but this is my Father's Day gift early. So, hey, by the way, have a good Father's Day. Oh, you too. So I guess watch the car pull off, and I'm waving, and then I shut the door, and all is good. And I go down into my studio, and lo and behold, the painting that I had put up for my studio in the wall behind me, it's like a long rectangular painting, had fallen off the wall. Now, that's not normally a problem because this particular painting didn't have any glass in it, and the frame is pretty sturdy, so there was nothing to be worried about from a glass shattering perspective or anything like that. The problem is that the wall that it was hanging on is a cinder block wall, and this cinder block wall has been my enemy since I moved into this basement because it just doesn't want to hold anything on it. It didn't want to hold paint, so I had to put two coats of paint on it. And after I put the 2 coats of paint on it, there's lots of little pock marks in it, and the paint didn't quite get in there, so I had to take a little tiny little brush and paint it and all that. And so the problem with these cinder block walls is that this particular wall is an exterior wall, and so I hate to put any kind of drills or screws in it because you never know what's going to come out. Usually water, right? So if it's raining a lot, these walls are pretty porous, and they tend to hold a lot of water, and the last thing I want to do is have water in my basement. So what I had to do was find some creative solutions to hang this particular wall, and my bright idea was to use some command strips. And so not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. I think I used like 9 command strips to hold this 8-pound artwork on the wall. Well, it decided to fall off. It held pretty well for like 5 days, and it decided to fall off, which again wouldn't have been so bad, but it took all the paint that was behind it with it. So my freshly painted wall had a huge rectangular, I don't know what it looked like. It looked pretty bad though. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm standing on the stairs looking at the wall, there goes my Father's Day gift. So what did I do? I had to pull the remaining strips of paint off the wall. I had to get my paint scraper, scraped up the wall, sanded it in the areas where it had fallen off. Then I had to make an emergency trip to the hardware store and to the paint store to get some primer, and I had to reprime the wall, and then I had to wait for the primer to dry, and then I had to repaint the wall, which at this point it's like 9 o'clock at night, so there was no chance of me having any any kind of relaxation to myself. And then the next day I had to put on another coat of paint. Then I had to wait for that to dry, and then I'm just now to the point on Monday afternoon, about 5 o'clock, where I'm in a really good spot to kind of recontinue. So the wall's been repainted. You can't tell that there were any issues, and fortunately, I was pretty lucky because the paint matched, so there's no really ungodly seams on the wall. Everything matched and it dried uniform. So literally, if you never knew that this happened, you would never know that any of this happened. So I guess that's the silver lining in all of it. I was able to kind of reset, and I'm going to think long and hard about what I'm going to put on this wall behind me. I don't know yet, and you know what, I'm not making any decisions for like a month, so it's just going to be a bare wall behind me, but all is well. But as I was going through the whole process, I kept thinking to myself, what was I planning on doing? I was going to shoot 2 YouTube videos. I was going to record an episode of the podcast so that I could get a jump for those weeks where I wasn't able to podcast. I was probably going to sit down and format my encyclopedia for paperback. That didn't happen. And then I had the opportunity to write words too. I mean, my wife was going to be gone a long time because she was visiting family and shopping. This place was, I think, 80% off all the stuff. So, I mean, she was going to shop to her heart's content. And here I am painting a wall. So, yeah, it didn't happen. And to be honest with you, I kind of got knocked down. I was pretty grumpy about the first 6 hours. Nothing seemed to be going right. And I just kept thinking to myself, man, damn, this was supposed to be the day. This was supposed to be the day where I was going to get some content banked and all sorts of things. And, life happened. And I think a lot of you listening to this, it's probably the same thing for you. You just never expect when life is going to strike. And in my case, it was a relatively trivial thing, but it was a pretty big deal for me because, YouTube is a big income source for me. And being accountable and creating content on a weekly basis is something I take very seriously. Because I don't want people to subscribe to me and then have a bad experience. I mean, that's just my reputation that's on the line, especially after I've been gone for so large amount of time. And so, you just have to deal with the hand that you've been dealt. And, I remember finishing the wall after I primed it. And I said to myself, okay, I am just going to not be down here in this studio, and I'm going to eat some dinner, and I'm going to take a nap. And when I wake up, it's going to be a reset. It's going to be a refresh. I can't change what happened to me, but I can at least change how I respond. And, here's me reframing everything. At least, thank goodness it happened on a Saturday afternoon when I was in the best position to do something about it, right? Because if it had happened on a Wednesday, it would probably have been an entire week until I could have gotten everything done. Because, I would have had to go to the hardware store and I had to tear everything down in order to paint, and so it's not an easy process necessarily. It's very disruptive, and so at least it happened on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning where I was able to get to the hardware store, get half the work done that day, and let's just say, so we went out to eat Saturday night, and we went to a restaurant, and let's just say I had a few beers, and so that was just kind of my way to just relax and just say, you know what, it happened for a reason, and I'll catch up come Monday, come Tuesday, come Wednesday, right? And so that's exactly what I'm doing. And so my message to all of you is, we all have plans, and those plans get disrupted, and particularly for my writers listening, there are a lot of podcasts and a lot of blogs and a lot of places out there that say, oh, you've got to write as fast as you can. You got to make as much content as you can. If you don't, you're going to get left behind. And as a result, in our community, there's this sense of urgency. That if you don't do this, you're going to miss out. If you don't publish 5 books this year or write 2 books this month, you're never going to make any money. And that's a bunch of baloney, right? And the reason I say that is because this isn't the first time this has happened to me. There have been many times this year. I mean, my surgery I didn't expect to have for my wisdom teeth, but they were bothering me and I had to get them out, and that disrupted, my entire life for like a month, and And there are many, many other times this year, and we're only in June, where I've been disrupted and have had to deal with issues as they come up. And so I just say to you, don't worry so much about the disruption. Just worry about how you're going to respond to it, because you can't select what happens to you in life, but you can choose how you respond, and you can choose how you decide to pick up the pieces. And I think the test of getting through any sort of strait successfully is how well you pick up the pieces and how well you plan to pick up those pieces. Because I can tell you that it feels really, really good to be back behind this microphone and talking to you guys. Because come Saturday, when Saturday happened, I didn't know if I was going to be behind the microphone this week, because all this crap happened. And so, I'm just grateful for that. And you just have to step back and take a look at the big picture. And at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. The law of averages is in your favor. Okay, so I missed 3 days of shooting and 3 days of productivity, right? But in the grand scheme of this year, I'm still probably going to write more words than a lot of people have even dreamed of, right? And so I don't say that to be cocky, but I say that as to give myself perspective and to help give you some perspective that you're going to miss some days throughout the year, writing words and following your goals, whatever those are. If some of you listening aren't writers, you're gonna have plans, and those plans are gonna get derailed. So anyway, that is my story of how my entire weekend got derailed. I am pretty tired because I was up late doing a lot of stuff. But as far as writing news goes, not much writing happened over the last 3 days. Probably not a shocker, right? But I'm working on this mental models book, and I'm coming along pretty well. It's I started writing some more today, and I'm still on the same timeline, which I think it's going to take me probably a month or two to finish it. But I think this is definitely going to be one of the cooler books that I've done. It's definitely meatier, and it's definitely very philosophical, but it's also practical. So if you've read my book, Be a Writing Machine, I think that this is like the spiritual successor to that. And I think that people who buy it are really going to enjoy it. And so Encyclopedia, some great things have happened with that. So the ebook is done. The paperback, I'm about 10% through formatting it. I just need a good afternoon or an evening where I can just sit down and hammer it out. But it's coming along. And I actually got some help at the last minute from the Alliance of Independent Authors. So I'm an advisor for them. And turns out that they have a glossary that kind of serves the same purpose for a lot of their members. And so I got their permission to kind of plumb this glossary and find any terms that maybe need to be defined that I missed, or some other things that I didn't consider. And we're going to have a joint partnership on this. They're going to help me promote it. And I'm going to be on the front cover of their magazine here next month, I think, or soon. I'm going to be on the front cover of their magazine. And so the encyclopedia will be a centerpiece thing that I'm featuring and talking about. So it's a great effort. And again, Ally is a great organization, and Orna there has been very good to me over the years. And so I'm really happy and looking forward to that. So that's going to delay the project just a little bit, but not so much that those of you who are dying to get a hold of that encyclopedia, it's not going to delay things too much. So that's all I got for this week. I hope everyone is having a fantastic week. And if this podcast hit you at a point where you're struggling with something, or maybe you missed a deadline or a timeline, I hope that it gives you a little bit of strength. And just remember, pick yourself up and pick up the pieces. So with that, I'm going to sign out. Hope you guys enjoyed the new intro and the new outro. In peace. Thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this episode, you'll enjoy my backlist episodes at michaelaran.com/podcast. For your free starter library of my favorite novels, join my fan club by visiting michaelaran.com/fanclub. If you're a writer and want to connect with me further, check out my YouTube channel, Author Level Up, for helpful writing advice at authorlevelup.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.